The film opens in a center school where music educator Joe Gardner, Jamie Foxx, is teaching an uninterested and unskilled class. The main special case gives off an impression of being a trombone-playing young lady named Connie, Cora Champomir, who does her own performance however appears to feel humiliated a short time later. Indeed, even after Joe gives an enthusiastic discourse about how he previously became fascinated with jazz music, the understudies appear to be disinterested. He is then called out of class by head Arroyo, Jeannie Tirado, who extends to Joe a full-time band showing employment opportunity. In spite of the fact that Joe is appreciative, he has higher yearnings. Joe tells his mom, a needleworker named Libba, Felicia Rashad. She is more pleased with him landing this position than she is of him seeking after a profession as a jazz performer, thinking it is an exercise in futility. Joe then, at that point, gets a call from a previous understudy named Curly Questlove, who lets him know that he is playing in a band with renowned jazz performer Dorothea Williams, Angela Bassett, whom Joe respects. Curly says there is an opening for a piano player on the off chance that he is intrigued, and Joe shows up right away. During the set, Joe gets going a piece temperamental however before long begins to wow the remainder of the band by ad-libbing the notes and playing a heartfelt tune. Dorothea is intrigued and advises Joe to appear for sound check sometime thereafter. Joe is thrilled at having scored a fantasy gig. He is eager to such an extent that he doesn't have the foggiest idea about where he is proceeding to wind up tumbling down a sewer vent. Joe's spirit shows up down a dull flight of stairs making a beeline for a brilliant light. He is educated by different spirits that they are made a beeline for the incomparable past now that their lifespan is finished. Joe will not acknowledge his passing in the wake of having the chance of his life, so he takes a stab at running down the flight of stairs, however an ever-increasing number of spirits fire coming up. He in the long run propels himself through the wall encompassing the steps, and he falls into a domain called the incomparable previously. He meets an instructor named Jerry A. Alice Braga, who takes him on a visit through where different spirits who haven't been given a day-to-day existence at this point are brought before they can go to Earth. The individuals who are prepared can bounce into an opening that will take them to their Earth bodies. Joe endeavors to bounce into the opening however continues to get sent back up. He gains from Jerry A that if he would rather not go to the incomparable past, he can take a situation as a coach to different spirits so they can procure their Earth pass and gain a day-to-day existence. In the meantime, a spirit counter named Terry, Rachel House, sees the build-up to the incomparable past as off. Joe goes to a workshop for the youthful spirits where they might get characters prior to getting the Earth pass. Jerry B. Richard Ioati matches Joe, who is making look like a prestigious therapist, with 22, Tina Fey, an insubordinate soul who has gone through numerous well-known coaches, counting Abe Lincoln, Muhammad Ali, Copernicus, Mother Teresa, and so forth, however wants to find a hobby on the planet. 22 follows Joe hesitantly through the duration of the specialist he is professing to be, until 22 shows Joe that he can pull up pictures of his own life. While seeing flashbacks, Joe feels like he didn't achieve anything in his life, and for this reason he believes he needs to return to his body and make a big deal about himself. The two then, at that point, make plans to get 22's Earth pass to initiate so she can give it to Joe for him to get back to Earth, thus she will not need to find a hobby. To do this, Joe needs to help 22 view as her flash that will initiate the pass. Joe takes a stab at all that he can imagine to check whether it will motivate 22, however nothing intrigues her. Before the Jerrys can endeavor to toss Joe back toward the incomparable past, 22 lets them know they are drawing near to tracking down her motivation forever. She rather assumes Joe to a position called the Zone, a domain between the physical and otherworldly where specialists, performers, or competitors seem when they are enlivened and enthusiastic. 22 just goes there to meddle with individuals, like the New York Knicks. They likewise find lost spirits, the sorts of spirits who never tracked down a reason and became consumed with negative contemplations. Joe and 22 are found by Moonwind, Graham Norton, a spirit who lives as a man on Earth who functions as a sign twirler. He directs lost spirits to their bodies and carries Joe to his body, which is lying in a state of extreme lethargy in the emergency clinic. As Joe gets ready to bounce back in, he unintentionally pulls 22 down with him and the two of them tumble down the spirit opening. 22 is presently inside Joe's body. The two freak out, however Joe converses with 22 so she won't make him look insane. She is upset to be in a human body, however they resolve to cooperate to escape what is happening. They attempt to find Moonwind's area that he had referenced, which is in Manhattan. However, when they get out there, 22 is overpowered by life and individuals. She stows away until Joe goes to swipe a cut of pizza and give her most memorable taste of food. 22 concludes that she cherishes pizza, and Joe likewise swipes her a gyro. They in the long run secure Moonwind at his position, where he advises them to meet at a particular area at 6:30 sometime thereafter for Joe to get back to his body. While attempting to return home, Joe is frightened when Dorothea and Curly see his body in an emergency clinic outfit meandering the roads. They bounce in a taxi and successfully return home prior to anything more occurs. At the point when Joe and 22 return to his condo, he gets a call from Curly saying that Dorothea went ballistic after seeing him and gave the gig to another person. Joe thinks he actually gets an opportunity to make up for himself on the off chance that he makes an appearance to the gig in any case, however he was to look satisfactory. They are then hindered when Connie goes to Joe's condo to let him know she needs to stop band. 22, talking as Joe, converses with her on a level she can comprehend, and in spite of the fact that she appears to urge Connie to stop, the young lady adjusts her perspective in the wake of playing a trombone piece that she had been chipping away at. 22 feels astonished at having had the option to impact another person. Joe attempts to assist 22 with preparing by trimming the hair on his own head, however he slips and trims down the center of his hair before the electric razor breaks. Joe then, at that point, advises 22 to go to his neighborhood hairstylist, Donald Rawlings. There, they experience Joe's adversary Paul, David Diggs, who offers inconsiderate remarks toward Joe. 22, actually representing him, converses with Des and different clients about her viewpoints on life and how far it has taken her to this point. Everybody is intrigued by her viewpoints, and she even figures out how to punch Paul when he offers another self-important remark. After the cut, 22 goes to tell Paul there are no worries. Terry then, at that point, shows up in the wake of having figured out Joe was the lost soul she was searching for. She unintentionally catches Paul, however returns his spirit to his body, yet at the same time makes him self-conscious by attempting to account for herself. 22 tears Joe's jeans, and with no opportunity to find a designer, Joe acknowledges they need to go to Libba, who won't be glad to discover that he is taking a gig. They ride the metro, where 22 encounters a furious New Yorker hollering at her. At the point when he gets to the shop, he determines from Libba's collaborators that she definitely is familiar with the gig. Joe and 22 go to address her, which prompts Joe proclaiming, and 22 repeatings, that Libba never upheld Joe in his aspirations. After a sincere conversation, Libba says she has consistently upheld Joe regardless of whether she thought his fantasies were far off. She chooses to help the gig, and she gives Joe his dad's old suit. Joe and 22 come over to see Moonwind so he can return Joe to his body, however 22 has understood that she has delighted in life in the brief time frame that she has had a body. Indeed, even the negative encounters like on the metro caused her to feel more invigorated than she has at any point felt. She will not surrender Joe's body, driving him to need to pursue her down into the metro. Terry gets them through one of her snares, sending them back to the incomparable previously. The Jerrys then, at that point, see that 22's Earth Pass has been filled since she tracked down her Flash, however Joe contends that it doesn't count since she did all that through his body. Hurt by his words, she tosses the pass at him and retreats. Joe asks Jerry B for what valid reason she can't have her own body on the off chance that she tracked down her motivation. Jerry B makes sense of that finding her Flash wasn't tracking down her motivation, however the justification for her and different spirits to need to live. Joe returns the pass and comes to his body in time, and Mr. Gloves reunites with his proprietor. Joe goes to Dorothea's show, and notwithstanding her trepidation toward him, She allows him another opportunity, and Joe figures out how to play a staggering presentation with the band. Whenever Dorothea offers him an opportunity to go on visit with them, Joe concedes that he doesn't feel the manner in which he expected to feel after so much. She passes on him with a splitting useful tidbits to allow him to think on. Joe gets back to his condo genuinely regretting what occurred with 22. As he plays music to himself, he gets back to the zone and reunites with Moonwine. He assists Joe with returning to the incomparable previously, just to find that 22 has in practically no time transformed into a tremendous lost soul. Joe attempts to connect with her, just to be caught in her haze of antagonism. He views as 22 crying alone as she recollects all her previous coaches, including Joe, telling her that she won't ever track down her motivation. Joe feels regret for what he did and he moves toward her. Joe then, at that point, takes a leaf that 22 had been hypnotized by when she was in his body, as it is a little however significant thing for her that drove her craving to live. The obscurity vanishes from around her. Joe guides 22 to the Earth entrance and gives her back her identification. He goes to the extent that he can with her as is commonly said farewell so she can at long last have her own body. Joe then, at that point, gets ready to make a beeline for the incomparable past, until Jerry stops him and says that the Jerrys were completely intrigued with Joe's activities in the way that he was the person who got 22 to need to live. They have chosen to permit Joe to get back to his body, and they will try and stay quiet about it from Terry by not telling her the count is off and causing her to trust it's fine. Joe then, at that point, vows to truly make every moment count. That's all from this movie. Please like and share. Subscribe for more update, comment below if you like to explain the movie you want